up for all of them. It don't matter if you Diddy or whoever you is.
As you must have heard by now, Katt Williams called it, 50 Cent confirmed it, and the Diddy documentary proved it. The truth finally came out, just not all of it. When the documentary dropped, it hit hard enough to trend everywhere, but soft enough to survive the system that usually shuts stories like this down. And that's exactly why it worked. The allegations were terrifying, and the downfall of Sean Diddy Combs was placed front and center. But somehow the story still felt strangely incomplete, and that wasn't an accident at all.
The whole mansion is a party, and then it's a separate party in the little room. You be looking at all the goddamn rooms, and you around and look in the wrong room and shit.
As I've been saying, Katt Williams warned everyone this was coming.
All of these big dick deviants is all catching hell in 2024.
Months before Diddy was arrested, Katt said it would be the year when all lies will be exposed. What he never said was that all people would be exposed too. That difference matters more than most realized at the time. Katt knows exactly how this industry works. Who gets dragged into the spotlight, who gets quietly protected, and who gets cut out before the credits even roll.
They rock with who they rock with, and they don't with who they don't. But I'm not scared of being the competition any more than you were when you lined up.
So when 50 Cent's long-awaited Diddy documentary finally dropped, the real story wasn't just what made it into the final cut. It was the names, faces, and stories that didn't make it at all. But Katt Williams saw this coming because he's been watching Hollywood eat its own for decades. He was showing us how fast, powerful people scramble to make nonsense seem normal. That's also why Katt warned that Diddy would snitch on everybody. Not because he wanted drama, but because he understands fear. When systems start cracking, they don't crumble evenly. And that's exactly where the missing names come in. First off, if there's one absence that explains all the others, it's this.
A lot of people are curious about the status of P. Diddy. P. Diddy.
Leaving out keeps the documentary clean and simple. It lets Diddy come off as a single, isolated villain instead of showing him as part of a bigger system that funded, lifted, and protected him for years. According to multiple reports, helped bankroll Bad Boy Records with tens of millions of dollars. He wasn't just another player. He was the foundation that made everything possible. Sources now say is freaking out, haunted by what could come out if new lawsuits start naming accomplices. One insider even suggested that whatever truth comes next could make the Whitney Houston controversy look small. And that's a chilling statement, considering Whitney was found dead in a bathtub while pre-Grammy party went on downstairs. Including would have shifted the focus from what Diddy did to who allowed Diddy to do it. That's a far more dangerous conversation, especially for a streaming platform that still needs access to the industry tomorrow and the day after that. Next up on the list is Usher. His absence isn't about power, it's all about pain. Back in the 1990s, Diddy took legal guardianship of a teenage Usher and brought him into what was called Flavor Camp. At the time, it was presented as mentorship, but looking back years later, it reads more like exposure without protection. Former Bad Boy security guard Gene Deal later claimed that rumors were circulating internally that Usher had been sent to the hospital while under Diddy's care, bleeding and injured. Deal admitted he didn't see it happen himself, but the fact that those rumors were even normalized says a lot about the environment Usher was placed in. Usher himself has never directly accused Diddy, but his words still haunt the story. He's admitted to seeing very curious things, being exposed to environments his parents had no idea about, and he once said flat out that he would never send his own children to Diddy's camp.
14 years old. You're a dad now. Would you ever send your kid to Puffy camp?
Hell no.
That kind of story doesn't fit neatly into a documentary made for mass audiences. It doesn't just shock people, it sends the entire corrupt system to jail. Even so, the Usher-Bieber connection isn't really about pointing fingers at one person. It's about normalization. Flavor Camp wasn't sold as grooming, it was sold as an opportunity. That's how systems like this survive, by branding closeness as privilege. Young talent learns fast what staying quiet gets them: survival, access, longevity. And those who speak too clearly rarely last. And the list gets even worse with the next name, mainly because it was so preventable. That's why Justin Bieber's absence in the documentary hits differently. Introduced to Diddy by Usher when he was barely 13, Justin was paraded in public ways ways that, looking back now, feel deeply disturbing. A resurfaced clip even shows Diddy bragging about having 48 hours with a 15-year-old Justin, promising chaos but refusing to explain what that actually meant.
Him, but for the next 48 hours, he's with me. So, and we gonna go full, buck full crazy.
At the time, people laughed it off. Now, hearing it again, it lands as shocking and uncomfortable. According to insiders, Justin has allegedly described his time around Diddy as a nightmare experience that contributed to years of addiction, emotional detachment, and ongoing mental health struggles that still surface publicly from time to time. He doesn't want to relive it in the spotlight, but he has started opening up in private to help protect younger artists from walking the same path. Not every omission in the documentary is a cover-up. Some are about ethical boundaries, and pulling Justin into a public spectacle wouldn't expose power, it would exploit someone's survival. Following Bieber's name is Mase. Mase's story doesn't scream scandal, it whispers exploitation. For years, Mase kept up a public fight by accusing Diddy of totally ripping him off, claiming Diddy offered him a mere $20,000 for publishing rights that were actually bringing in millions. This messy dispute dragged on for a long time until Cameron finally stepped in to confront Diddy on Mase's behalf, literally cornering him on a boat just to demand some real answers. It wasn't until way later in 2023 that Diddy finally decided to give those publishing rights back to Mase and the other bad boy artists. But he only did it once. Nobody was really listening to their music like that anymore.
Because I'm trying to be nice. I never got paid what I was worth, and I never got the respect I was worth.
But here's the twist. That silence lasted for decades, and it tells a much darker story that the documentary just doesn't want to deal with. The truth is that financial doesn't go viral or trend on social media the same way those freak-offs do. But it's the kind of thing that quietly destroys people's lives while everyone else is looking the other way. Then there's Kevin Hart, who didn't even try to deny hosting Diddy's wild parties. Instead, he just flat out refused to answer any real questions about what actually went down at them.
Pop just said we used to wrestle over the Frosted Flakes, and we're streaming live. That was stupid.
But when asked directly about the parties, Hart snapped back at the reporter, telling them they had the wrong person and were asking the wrong question.
Hey, Kev, when you hosted for Diddy, did you catch any baby oil? Yeah. Nah?
Wrong person, wrong question.
That defensive response was a huge contrast to old footage of him laughing about a woman whose hair caught on fire at a Diddy event, a moment he once called the funniest thing he'd ever witnessed.
You know, doing what I do best.
Oh, did the camera catch that? Got the camera!
In a world before the arrest, that clip was just comedy. Now it's a serious piece of the story. Comedy tells the truth sideways, but documentaries don't get that luxury. Next up is Meek Mill's situation, which really shows how fast loyalty can collapse once the pressure turns up. Right after Diddy's arrest, Meek actually went public to wish him well, even questioning if black men were being thrown in jail just based on stories. But then some messy footage from a 2014 party resurfaced and painted a much darker picture. We're talking unclothed women as sushi platters, used protection, stained sheets, razor blades, and rampant use, at least according to the property manager. As the scrutiny got more intense, Meek totally switched up. He later declared no Diddy gang, trying to distance himself as the legal implications grew heavier.
No Diddy gang, Meek Mill in real life, don't ever disrespect me.
That huge contradiction, defending him first and retreating later, is exactly what makes his story legally radioactive. At the end of the day, Netflix doesn't like to gamble on that kind of uncertainty. Last but not least, we have to talk about Snoop Dogg, who claimed he was very surprised by everything coming out in Diddy's trial.
You've been able to see it all. Are you surprised at what is happening with Diddy right now?
Very surprised. I'm ultimately surprised.
That statement definitely raised some eyebrows, not only because he was very close to the man, but mostly because by the time the trial actually started, those rumors were anything but new. The only real surprise for most people was just how long it took for any actual consequences to finally catch up with him.
They forged a friendship and a brotherhood
that me and Puff always had.
Snoop made it a point to emphasize that he tries to be a better boss, carefully carving out a space for himself without actually coming out and accusing anyone of anything. That specific brand of neutrality, keeping his distance without starting a confrontation, is exactly why his name stays untouched while everyone else is getting dragged. At the end of the day, some brands are just way too valuable for anyone to really mess with. None of this means that 50 Cent was lying about anything. His hatred for Diddy is pretty justified. But focusing so hard on just one single villain ends up flattening the whole story. It turns what was actually a massive network into one lone monster, which lets everyone else involved just slip right back into the shadows where they feel safe. And once you follow the money, the silence starts to make sense. Because let's be real for a second, it's not very often that hating on someone makes you as much money as 50 Cent is about to make off Diddy. This beef didn't start out as some kind of activism. It started as personal drama, petty jokes, trolling, and years of long-standing disrespect.
What you gonna say to him? Puffy was playing with your booty in Miami.
But the moment Diddy was arrested on those heavy federal charges, trafficking, racketeering, and transportation for prostitution, that beef officially turned into valuable content. Suddenly, years of mockery became something marketable. Suddenly, Netflix had millions of dollars on the table, and the truth got negotiated. This is the part where audiences usually get frustrated. Everyone knows, they say, but knowing something is not the same thing as proving it. And proving something in a court of law when you get sued is a whole different ball game than proving it on Twitter. Documentaries don't usually die because they're false. They die because they're way too expensive to produce and defend. Every big name that gets removed from the script lowers the legal risk for the studio. It's just the cold math of the media business. At the end of the day, this documentary wasn't about telling every single thing. It was about telling just enough. It was enough to satisfy the viewers, enough to make a huge profit, and just enough to punish one man without actually exposing the entire system that made him possible in the first place. Katt Williams never said the truth would be clean or easy to hear. He just said it would leak. But here's the thing, this could only be a small drop. So, for now, we're all just going to be sitting here and waiting to see when the rest of the truth finally starts to pour out.